How you doing, everybody? John Arezzi here for a special Pro Wrestling Spotlight Live, August 14th, 2021. A couple of weeks ago, I was here with Alex Robertson, and we addressed some things that were going on in regard to the Pro Wrestling Spotlight podcast. I have updates for you today on what's going on with the progress we're making, and also the new Patreon page that we launched. So some really cool things are happening. I'll address that stuff later in the program. But I feel like it's the old days. I feel like it's 30 years ago when I did Pro Wrestling Spotlight each and every week on the radio. And I'm bringing it back here. We may do this, every other week, every month, when there's news. There's been a lot of news breaking this week. An unfortunate passing of one of the legends of professional wrestling, which really just hit everybody hard. Dominic DeNucci passed away, and what a great guy he was. And I'll be bringing on Greg Oliver, the editor of Slam Wrestling, and the renowned author and that he is up in Canada. And also Donnie Liable will be joining us to reminisce about Dominic DeNucci as well. So we'll bring them on in just a couple of seconds here. But also we have a special guest later on in the program, Deborah Michelli, also known as Medusa in the WWE. She was known as Alundra Blaze. She's a Hall of Famer. She's always busy, got so much going on, and we're going to catch up with her as well. So we got a pretty jam-packed show. It may go over an hour today, so just kind of settle in and enjoy the broadcast, because we have a lot to talk about today on Pro Wrestling Spotlight Live. I see people are joining us, and there's a lot of activity. People joining the YouTube feed of this program, and I'm happy to have all of you here. So just kind of settle in, buckle up, and we'll begin the show now. I'd like to bring on first and foremost, one of my oldest friends ever, Don Liable. Don, are you there? There you go. Good to see you. And Don, I don't hear you. There's Greg Oliver. Greg, are you there?
I'm here. Hopefully you can hear me.
I can hear you pretty well.
Donnie's best silent.
Donnie, can say something, Don.
Can you hear me now?
Turn up your mic a little bit, or your volume, or something.
That's what we have it all the way up here. I am at 100% right now.
That's a little better.
That's a little better, yes. But bringing you guys on, you both have very strong connections to Dominic DeNucci, and Dominic passed. Both of you have connections to Dominic, and Greg, I'm going to start with you, since you were very, very close to Dominic throughout most of his career. So give us a little bit of a synopsis of Dominic, and of course he is a prominent. He wrestled and broke in Canada.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure I was close to him his whole career. I mean, I'm not, like, he died at 89 years old. Let's be realistic. None of us were close to him when he began his career. That was in the 50s when he came over, and he had to choose where he wanted to immigrate from, because he was born in Italy and he had family and in various places across the world. I think it was like a great uncle in Montreal that he didn't know very well, but he took a chance and ended up in Montreal, and he fell into the under the tutelage of the different guys in Montreal that were doing the pro wrestling, and off he went. I didn't really get to know him. Like, I never really watched him wrestle. I saw him at the end of his indie days. So this would have been like the late 80s. He'd come up from Pittsburgh with a few guys and work for Tony Parisi shows or indies or whatever it was. But then when I started writing, you get in touch with Dominic DeNucci, and he was such a gem as a person. You find yourself calling him all the time. And I'm sure Donnie has similar experiences. He was just such a nice guy. He loved to talk. He was very honest with everybody, I found. And I'm going to miss the old guy.
And what a great accent he had, and a true Italian. And I got a chance to cover his career in the 70s, and I used to take photographs of him. Here's a shot that I believe I shot back in the mid 70s. And of course, he was a tag team champion twice. And Don will talk about that in a second. But it was really, even though he was an older gentleman, and he actually made his last personal appearance about a month ago at a wrestling fans convention at the Hamburg Field House in Pennsylvania. And there were photographs of that circulating, and he looked frail and all of that. But it's a big loss in the business, because he was such a universally well-liked gentleman. He really was. And I know, Greg, I mean, it also touched you because you had a connection there with your son and Dominic. So this one hurt. This one hit you pretty hard, I think.
It did. Yeah, no, absolutely. He was just a sweetheart, and he liked those calls, and he liked to talk about pro wrestling. And I think I asked him about all the different people, which is a big help, because how many times can he talk about Mick Foley, who he trained? Or somebody just asked Brian Hildebrand. He trained him as well.
Yeah.
And Shane Douglas and a few other lesser names, I guess, but I mean, that doesn't mean they weren't they got involved in the business and they were pro wrestlers.
Yeah, his prominent guys that he trained, Shane and Mick, of course. And, I saw footage of him training Mick back in the early days. And what a just great guy. And Mick posted a very heartfelt 4 or 5 minutes that we'll play in a little bit as well. But what a loss. And Donnie, I mean, you have a connection to Mr. DiNucci as well, because you were actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, you were vice president of his fan club.
Yes, I was. I'm very proud of it. And I'll tell you how that happened. Again, it was a golden era of being a wrestling fan back in the 70s, particularly in the Northeast. And after going to the WFIA convention in July, I got hooked on Boston. And
that was in 75, right? 1975.
75, yeah. And so I started making trips up there again. And of course, we stayed at the Madison Hotel right next to the Boston Garden. And I would go up with Mel Phillips. He'd drop me off. For some people don't know, Mel used to work with the WWF. And I would stay at the hotel. Marilee Neitzel, who ran Jimmy Valiant's fan club, and all people that were there forever. So I met a fellow named Danny Drillis, who we met through Marilee at the Jimmy Valiant fan club, and he wanted to start a fan club for Dominic DiNucci. And of course, I said, sure, I'd like to get involved. First I was the chief writer, and then I became the vice president. And I remember one time, it was November of 76. The Boston Garden had a show on a Saturday night. I was with Marilee during the day, and we went and picked up Billy Graham at the hotel. This is when Billy Graham was first coming around before he would become champion in 77. And so that was a big thrill. And that night, Billy Graham was working against Dominic DiNucci. Kind of like, you have the super heel come in and they're going to take on, someone who's like a Monsoon or a DiNucci and build them up. And so after we dropped Billy Graham off at the hotel, Dominic was there, and Danny and I were interviewing him for an upcoming bulletin that we did. Anyway, after the show, Dominic stayed over, and in the morning, it was maybe around 8 o'clock or so, we went into his room and just chit-chatted, and I don't know where he was going afterwards, but that was the first time I just spent alone time with just myself, Danny, and Dominic, and like you, Greg was saying, just a regular guy. I mean, when I thought of DiNucci, I thought of San Martino. There was always brothers or cousins, however you wanted to. There was always that group with Tony Puglisi, the main core there. And away from the public and all, just a sweetheart of a man who happened to be in the public eye as a pro wrestler, just cooperative. Whenever we needed something for the fan club, Danny would call him up and do an interview. Just a good soul, nice guy. And if I could tell you one other quick story that I think when I think of Dominic DiNucci, summer of 75, the IWA is coming to the Northeast, and they're going to have a show in Jersey City, which the first show in July, they drew 13,000 plus. And anyway, that was unheard of, and especially in the Northeast. And as a wrestling fan, you were really excited because, we started seeing a different wrestling group in New York City on TV and whatnot. Well, just at the time when they were coming in July, earlier, Dominic DeNucci and Victor Rivera, who was very popular, they won the tag team belts. So the IWA comes around in July.
And they won it from the Valiant brothers, and the Valiants had a big run.
And they had it for over a year, the Valiants. I think it was maybe 13 months or something like that. And I remember some of the pictures that you took of DeNucci after the match holding the belt. If I'm not mistaken, he was bleeding that match, and you never saw Dominic bleed.
No.
And so all of a sudden, Victor Rivera bolts to WWF and goes to IWA, and Dominic has Irish Pat Barrett as his tag team partner to fulfill. Yeah, there's the shot on cue. And I didn't know who Pat Barrett was at that time. I mean, if it wasn't in the wrestling magazines, I didn't know who it was. And then, of course, they ended up losing to the Blackjacks. But that was a very special time as a wrestling fan in the Northeast. And kind of when you look back at it, it was pretty historic where Victor Rivera jumped the boat, and there's Dominic holding two belts, literally.
Yeah. And then with Pat Barrett coming in, Dominic won his first WWF tag team title with Bruno Sammartino, and they beat the Mongols. This was back in 1971, I believe, and then they lost the title 3 days later. But he and Bruno also had that title for 3 days, and then Dominic went on to team up with Dino Bravo, defeating Professor Tanaka and Mr. Fuji for the titles. So he was a mainstay in the Worldwide Wrestling Federation. And one of the biggest matches that I remember of Dominic's was in Boston at the Boston Garden. It was DeNucci and Bruno taking on Ivan Koloff and superstar Billy Graham. Just when Graham was coming in, it was a 2 out of 3 fall match, and the third fall, you figured, DeNucci's going to do the honors, so to speak. But it was actually Graham coming off the top rope with a knee, and he pinned Bruno in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3 in Boston. And that's when you knew that there was going to be a long program with Graham and Bruno. But that was a big memory for me. And Dominic was always one of those guys who was popular in the back with the boys, popular with the fans, and like you said, very cooperative, very nice guy. And Greg,
but does not speak to his reliability too. Like he spent so much time in the WWF at the end there.
Yes,
did I do too many W's? But he was reliable. He could, they'd use him in regular spots, and they'd test other guys against him. But what a lot of the fans don't know is that he homesteaded there, right? He had a job delivering newspapers.
Yes.
At night. And so it was a way for him to, have a pension and, healthcare and all that stuff. So he actually was smart that way. In fact, a few of the boys did that. I think.
Yeah, I remember at my convention, I think it was Baron Cicluna.
Yeah, he definitely did it. Yeah.
There was like 3 or 4 of them that Davey O'Hannon, someone was a union rep and got some of these guys jobs, and DeNucci was one of those guys because they were
Sanchez,
all at my convention.
Maybe, yeah.
Pete Sanchez. Yeah.
But did it hurt his reputation? Because you don't think so?
I don't know. I gave him security.
Losing a lot, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how many people knew about that side of what he did. I mean, but he was smart in that respect because, the security in wrestling and there was never any benefits or anything up to this day, really, if you look at it. But, he wanted to take care of his family, as you said, and he did. He was able to do that with that real job.
What was his? If either one of you could remind me, he had an Italian restaurant, didn't he, for a while?
I don't.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't remember hearing that, Tommy.
Someplace in Freedom, Pennsylvania. I'll do some research on that. I know he had a Italian restaurant for a while. But yeah, imagine having Dominic DeNucci, Baron Cicluna, Manny Soto, Davey O'Hannon, those guys delivering your newspapers. How great is that? Subscriptions going way up.
Yep, absolutely. But just a sad thing, and and just you can't say enough about what a great guy he was, and it was a big loss. And as 89 years old, you said, Greg, he was.
He was 89, yeah. So, I mean, it's not unexpected, but we also hadn't heard that he was in ill health, right? Whereas when Bobby Eaton died, which shocked a lot of us, we also know that he'd had heart issues, he'd had a pacemaker put in, all these things through the years that it still doesn't make it easier. And we thought, Bobby Eaton was just so young, but 89 we can sort of accept in our minds a little bit. We're not going to miss both of them. They're great talents.
True.
Nobody's here forever.
No, that is very true. And it hits you. Some of these hit you hard. And of course, with the loss of Bobby Eaton recently, which was just horrible, and him losing his wife. And there's been so many deaths in the business. It just they seem to come so often these days. And but when I read everything that you reported on Greg and Slam, and a lot of the stuff I didn't know about your relationship with Dominic, and especially in the latter years of his life there, and the wonderful tribute that you paid to him on slamwrestling.net. I wanted to bring you on and just to kind of share a few memories with you, and Donnie, of course. I mean, he goes back and covered DiNucci and was the VP of his fan club. So I wanted to bring you guys on. Just kind of reminisce.
Do those old fan club things still exist, Donnie? Do you have them all?
I do not. But funny you should mention that, because here's a little segue. I do have one thing that I do have on my fan club bulletins from the Eddie Gilbert fan club, and today would have been Eddie's birthday. I think he would have been around 60. I think he was 2 years younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw something this morning on the internet, and it reminded me. And Eddie was a good friend of mine. And we talk about losing DiNucci. When I first heard that, I was thinking about, geez, we lost Nikolai Volkov, of course, Bruno Sammartino, Chief Jay Strongbow, Lou Albano. All these are people that I grew up with. And it's just like a ball team, a hockey team, that this is your guys, your team, your home team. And no matter how old you get, that's still your team. And as you lose these people, you're really losing so much of yourself, your whether it's your youth or happy times or whatever. It's just Dominic was just another block there that it shows time's moving on. And you really hate to lose any of your heroes at any age.
Very, very true. Well, we pay tribute to Dominic DiNucci here. And any closing thoughts, Greg?
No, I think that speaks volumes of just how much everybody liked him. And certainly I treasure the time we had together hanging out. A good example of what a quality guy he was is that Bruno Sammartino did not go to his Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame induction in 2002. And he didn't go until 10 years later when Dominic DiNucci was being inducted. Then he's like, I want to be the one to introduce you. And so then Bruno went and overshadowed everybody, of course, and he got his ring finally. But I mean, the moment was pretty awesome, just because it was Bruno, and he did that for Dominic. But that also is how they all traveled together, right? All those Pittsburgh guys would be traveling together, and that was common, whether they're coming up to Hamilton to do jobs, whether the Hamilton guys were going down to Pittsburgh, or even more recently, like Lord Zoltan and all those guys, Trapper Tom, they'd be throwing guys in the car, and Dominic would often just sit in the back, tell stories about look at the grapes, and drive to wherever they were going.
He used to tell you one thing, right? When you called him up, what would be the first thing he said to you, Greg?
Why are you now not a call?
What are you to go?
Why are you not a call?
Why are you not a call? He had what a wonderful accent he had. And Greg, I know you have a concert to go to tonight, and I really appreciate you joining us for a few minutes here today. And you do a wonderful job. Slamwrestling.net is rocking, man. And Donnie has done some work for you. But, I mean, when you talk about a news site in pro wrestling that covers everything, the site has grown by leaps and bounds since you went independent about a year ago, I think it was. And what Absolutely. A team you've assembled. And I mean, it's kind of the first place you go for wrestling news. It's just a fabulous site. So slamwrestling.net, Greg and his team.
Can I just plug that we finally sent a photographer and a writer to an AEW event, right? Everything's been shut down, or they've been on closed locations.
Wow.
And photographers weren't allowed. So we had a photographer there. There's a couple of galleries, and it's just so cool to really see this new site and what we're able to do with all that new tech and the old photos and stuff, because people love photos.
Yes, they do.
We definitely do.
And photographs you give them, and great coverage at slamwrestling.net. Greg, have a great rest of your weekend, and I'm sure we'll be talking real soon.
Thanks, boys.
All right, thank you. Greg Oliver and Donnie's still with us. We're going to be joined by Medusa fairly soon, but in the topic that we're covering, Mick Foley said some wonderful things about Dominic, and of course, Dominic trained Mick. So I'm going to try to share the screen here, Don. Hang out if you'd like to hang out for a few more minutes and watch this with us. I am going to pull up hopefully this video. Share screen, Chrome, Mick Foley, audio, share.
Hello, everyone. This is Mick Foley. I'd like to say a few words about passing of Dominic DeNucci, a trainer without whom I would not be here. This is paint marker on my head. It's a long story, but I was trying to make a fan happy. It should go away in a week or so. And I'm going to do some writing about Dominic. I might try to find some of the passages I wrote about him and Have a Nice Day. Because for those of you who read it, remember, I really wrote glowingly about Dominic. I woke up today to find out that he passed away. And there was a tough blow. Because I've been helped by so many people during the course of my time in wrestling. Because some of them have helped me get to where I was, but the most instrumental person was Dominic, because I was not didn't have a lot of athletic ability, and I was I could be pretty sensitive, and he was able to work around that, and he was able to help me believe in myself. And I think I mentioned in the past that I remember he after all the students were gone, he would stick around and stay with me and help me with things that I did not think I could do, that I could just without say, I can't do that. I'm not physically able to do that. I kid you not, when I completed my first sunset flip at his urging, when I left that gym, I felt like I was on a cloud. Like I just felt like I was capable of doing so much more than I thought. He was an incredible teacher. He was a great friend. He was a tough guy. Wow. You didn't mess around with Dominic. He was so technically sound. I remember being in Italy. There's this huge Italian bodybuilder wanted Dominic to train him. Dominic got down in the referee's position in the Tanzanese, and he said, I won't do the accent. He said, if you can turn me, I'll train you. And this guy thought it'd be a piece of cake, and he couldn't do it. Dominic was, I think, in his early 50s at that time. He could not turn him, man. He was one of those guys with just that phenomenal strength that doesn't show up in a weight room. He was a gentleman. He was such a blessing to have had him on my side. Just again, I'm going to do some more writing and talk about him more extensively, but I had $156 to my name when I made my first trip, and I think I spent $125 of it getting a motel for 2 nights, gas, food, and at that rate, how could I possibly afford to stay in that game, traveling 700 miles round trip to Pittsburgh, to Beaver County, just north of Pittsburgh. When it came time for me to pay him, I had heard it was $100 a lesson. And he said, how much do you think you should pay? And I lowballed him. I said, 50. And he shook his head and he said, that's too much. And he charged me $25 for, I think, for the weekend. And after a year and a half, he came over to me and goes, my boy, you've been coming here a year and a half. He says, you don't pay anymore. And those type of stories are far and few between. You hear stories about people taking advantage of trainees, just caring about the money, and he really cared about us. I want to thank guys like Mark Keenan and Shane Douglas who lived in the area and were in constant touch with him, took him out. I wasn't in touch much with Dominic. I got in touch with him when I would come into the area. We would go out, we'd eat. He'd join me for my shows. As a matter of fact, last night, driving into Western Pennsylvania, and I was like, all right, November 3rd. Okay, I have to remember to give Dominic a call, invite him and the guys out to the show, find a place to eat, and woke up today to find out that he was gone. So wrestling has lost a great man and a great wrestler, a man who meant so much to so many people, with me being one of the first on that list. God bless you, Dominic. Rest in peace. You were an amazing man, a credit to our business, and man, I love it. Bye.
Mick Foley, you know, you could just feel the pain in Mick. Hold on here. Let me get rid of this. You know, what am I? This ain't ABC News, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I mean, the memories that you had, Don, and of Dominic, of course, of people in that era that we just keep losing. And
you know, Johnny, he reminds me of listening to what Mick said about Dominic. Reminds me of my association with Killer Kowalski. That era of people is a different time, and I'm thankful that time did stand still for them, so we could absorb their humility, their generosity. But, you know, when I think back of Dominic, my last comment about him, I think about an era where there were people like himself, Nikolai Volkov, Butcher Vachon. These guys weren't by any means, if you look at it today, look back, they weren't great workers at all. I mean, they knew how to sell and they knew how to generate business, but as far as technical wise and this and that, it wasn't called for back then, but you still believed and you gravitated towards them. And someone like Dominic DeNucci, you know, I was happy to cheer for him. It was, you know, a wonderful time to be a wrestling fan, and he was a wonderful hero.
He certainly was. And we're going to miss him. Waiting for Medusa. Hopefully she'll be on here. She did confirm, so we'll wait for her. But Don, while we have you here, you recently made a major move in your life where you left New York and are now in Florida.
Yeah, and I'm not far from Medusa either. I'm about 45 miles away from her.
Yeah. So how do you like it down there?
You know, it's different from being in Brooklyn and Queens, but unfortunately, we don't have wrestling anymore down here as it did years ago at in Tampa, St. Pete, which I would have loved to have attended.
There's somebody you may know, right?
Hey, there he is.
Ken Jugan.
Now let me tell you something. People don't know Ken Jugan. He's like, you know, James Brown was one of the hardest working men in show business. Ken Jugan is the hardest working man in wrestling for decades. I have a funny story. Whenever I think of Ken Jugan, there's two. One I can't tell. One I will tell involves a midget. And
okay,
we were in Knoxville, Tennessee for the WFIA convention. And I know Ken knows exactly what I'm going to talk about. We stayed in such a exclusive hotel that they had a sign in the lobby when you walked in that we took a picture of, and it said, "No prostitutes, no drug addicts, no vagrants, no this." I mean, this place was a dump. The Andrew Jackson. I mean, a huge dump.
I remember that place.
And right in front of the sign. That's right. And there was a sign. Well, somebody operating the elevator was this little midget named Tommy. And so anyway, I took a picture.
It's a little person, Don.
Hey, Skylar Lowe will always be a little person. And I took a picture of Ken with little Tommy with the sign saying no prostitutes, drug addicts, this and that. And for the decades, I would look at that and I would laugh. That was funny. But Ken Jugan was from refereeing to promoting to wrestling, hardest working guy in the business.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. The pool was empty. He was Captain Lenny of Knoxville. That's what he was.
Oh, is that what he was?
Yeah.
Captain Lenny. I wonder where he is today. But lots of things going on, Don. Happy to.
Johnny, also, when you talk about Dominic DeNucci, another one from Pittsburgh was Johnny Valiant. And, I was tough losing Johnny. But when I think of Pittsburgh, there was Bruno, DeNucci, Nikolai was based out of that area for a while, Johnny Valiant, Johnny DeFazio, and, of course, Ken Jugan was part of all that group as well later on. It was a wonderful era and great region.
Well, I mean, it was some magical times back then. And, since we're waiting on Medusa, I just texted her as well. Hopefully she'll be joining us. But I might as well get into the other part. I don't want to just kind of drag things on. If you want to hang out, Don, I have some audio that I think you're going to love that I'm going to play in a second here. But I want to give everybody an update what's going on with Pro Wrestling Spotlight, the podcast, since a lot of people obviously are waiting on the relaunch since, I was terminated from the Arcadian Vanguard podcast network. This next phase of what I'm going to be doing is going to be really cool. I mean, I still am kind of in shock that there is no Pro Wrestling Spotlight then and now. I can't believe that it went away as abruptly as it did. But like I said, that wasn't my call. Talking to a third party was all I'm guilty of, basically. But Pro Wrestling Spotlight podcast is going to continue. I was at a podcast convention here in Nashville a couple of weeks ago. I met with several different platforms. The show is coming back. I'm talking to potential producers right now and editors, because you need all of that, because there's so much content that you put into a Pro Wrestling Spotlight podcast. So I really feel comfortable that in the next week or so, I'm going to be able to announce that we'll have a relaunch date for the podcast. And I'm trying to, throw it out there to everybody that I may want to change it up a little bit. There may be some interaction with some guests that were on 30 years ago to try to bring them back. But the show is going to continue. And another thing that I really wanted to do is, like, over the course of the 2 years that I did the show with Brian last, I always wanted to put the shows in sync, where, this week is August 14th, 2021. I wanted the podcast basically to reflect what happened August 14th of 1991, 30 years ago. So once we relaunch this podcast with whoever the co-host is going to be and the producers, we're going to accelerate it until we get to the point where it's like we're going to cover it, what happened 30 years ago that week on the podcast. The podcast, Richard, good question. Will the podcast be free? Yes, the podcast will be free. I mean, that's going to be exactly the way it was. It's going to be on every platform. It's going to be on your Spotify's and Apple, Apple Podcast, and anywhere you find your podcast, you're going to be able to listen to it. It won't be called Pro Wrestling Spotlight then and now, but Pro Wrestling Spotlight will be in the title for sure. But we're going to continue on, because let me tell you guys something. I mean, I got too much content to just let it go. This is like, look at this. I mean, all these tapes are from shows that have not aired yet. So we have so much of this stuff to go. And we're not, we're going to have, I'm going to have, and here's the other part of it, which is so wonderful, is like, I'll be able to, control the analytics. I'll be able to know where you're from, where you're listening from, which I never really had the opportunity to have access earlier to that stuff. So I'll have it now. And the new Patreon account is open. It's live. And I've been uploading content on it for now. It's a few weeks. We got 57 patrons now that joined up in the last week and a half. So people are coming aboard, and there are 2 tiers. I'm uploading shows constantly now. There's content going up there, and it's 2 different tiers on it. There's a basic tier where you're going to get the same thing you got on the last Patreon page. You'll get all the unedited shows of Pro Wrestling Spotlight and you'll have access to the entire archives. And right now, I uploaded another few shows. There's another one, a new one coming on tomorrow night. But in the $10 tier, you're going to hear audio from years and years ago. Don, you may appreciate this. I uncovered boxes of interviews and content. Like, just take a look. That's one box of interviews from the 70s. I mean, everything is here. Look at some of them old cassettes, and I started listening to some of them, and there's just so much there. I mean, it's incredible the amount of content that we have. I'm going to play something for you, which is going to go up on the Patreon, and the Patreon address is patreon.com/John Arezzi. It's a $5 tier right now, a $10 tier. More tiers are going to be added. It'll be much more fan interactive than ever. One thing I was able to do for everybody that's joined is I'm reaching out to them immediately. I'm sending them a thank you note. I never had that opportunity before, but now I will. So right now I'm going to play you a little tease of what I'm putting up there tomorrow night. It's from 1974. Captain Lou, the Valiant Brothers. Now, when I listened to this whole tape, there was some cool TV stuff. And then there was an interview from backstage at Madison Square Garden from November of 74. And with Freddie Blassie standing next to me. And I did an interview with him. But let's check this out, Don. I think you'll appreciate it. And everybody listening will appreciate what I'm about to play from 1974. This was when a match was announced that Captain Lou Albano was going to team up with the Valiant Brothers against Chief Jay Strongbow, Bruno Sammartino, and Gorilla Monsoon at Nassau Coliseum. This is classic stuff.
I know you agree, Vince McMahon, that I have great strategy, a great mind for wrestling, and therefore there must be a reason to my putting on a tights, am I right? As you know, I'm very smart not to answer. As you know, I've had a running feud with Jay Strongbow, with Bruno Sammartino, and also with the big, fat, obese Gorilla Monsoon. Now, they've signed the match with the captain in the ring. Therefore, we have a secret weapon. At this time, I am not going to disclose. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I will only tell you this. I will stake my reputation that Sammartino, Monsoon, and Strongbow will not walk out of that ring on that night. How do you like that?
Big fat man Calhoun just reminds me of somebody that named Calhoun. You know, every time I hear that name Monsoon, it reminds me of the other cat we got rid of. You don't see him around here no more, do you? Calhoun. You know why? He got the message, boy. Because the Valiant Brothers done nothing but immortalize that man. We embarrassed him so much he took off. Let me tell you something, Monsoon. You got another friend of yours called Sammartino. We've taken care of his clock, too. We've also taken care of the Indian. And let me tell you something right now. You look like a big fat man out of some kind of a used car lot standing here about people being short of bricks and this and that. Well, if we're short, especially our captain, if he's short, you're overloaded, baby. And you take a look at that big fat waist of yours, which is going to be about 70. This I got a friend of yours, Calhoun, which isn't here anymore. And yet, where is he? We got rid of him. Let me tell you something. We're coming to Long Island, baby. We're coming all the way from California, and we're going to do you a favor by appearing before you. And we're going to crush your champion, Sammartino, and we're going to defend our tag team championship. And my brother's going to be there, the captain's going to be there, and Luscious Johnny's going to be there. That's 3 reasons why you want to be there, to watch Sammartino go down at the feet of the Valiant Brothers and Captain Lou Albano. Baby, let me tell you one thing. Johnny and myself, we're going to take care of Sammartino and the Indian and Monsoon, Daddy. The captain's going to pick you up, baby, and slam you, Daddy, right through that hole in the mat, baby. Everybody looking forward to the extraordinary main event. Coming along, cab driver. Make sure you get the Valiant Brothers taxi, boy. We're big.
John, the quality of that is unbelievable.
And this is the interview from the Garden, which I'm going to save for the patrons for tomorrow night. But yeah, that quality, and Don, and on that same cassette, I used to tape all the shows from the Olympic Auditorium. So on the same cassette, we're going to have John Tolis, wonderful promo from John Tolis, and Eduardo Carpentier, and Dino Bravo, Gene LaBelle, and I have I can't begin to tell you how much gold is here.
Oh,
So if you're a patron, if you want to join John Arezzi, patreon.com/John Arezzi, there's a $5 tier, $10 tier. And what else is coming up tomorrow night? I usually do I do the posting mostly on a Sunday night, but what I'm trying to do is catch up. So all 112 shows that were on the old Patreon site are going over to the new site, and it takes a while to edit those down. So, for example, I put 3 up yesterday, 2 or 3 up yesterday. So I'm going to get all of this by the time the old Patreon account closes, and Brian is closing it on the end of the month. I want to migrate all of those 112 shows that have already been on the old site to the new site for $5 a month. You get them all. And tomorrow night, and here's another thing. Tomorrow night, we're going to put up the Pro Wrestling Spotlight show from June 23rd, 1991. It was the day before the Zaharian trial started. So that'll go up on Patreon. And then next Sunday night, a week from tomorrow, we'll have all of the trial coverage because I was in Harrisburg for that trial with Zaharian. And as a bonus for the $10 members, you're going to get all of the coverage that I did to media outlets, from 1010 WINS in New York to the interviews I did with the prosecutor and Billy Graham and the defense attorneys. So if you're into the Zaharian trial stuff, now's the time to join Patreon. But also what I found, Don, for the patrons tomorrow night, I'm going to be putting it up there tomorrow at 7 o'clock Central. When I started Pro Wrestling Spotlight on April the 9th, 1989, I did an interview with Bruno Sammartino. And, I taped it after, he was coming on the second show, which was April the 16th of 89. And when I interviewed Bruno, it was taped, and he said some things about the WWF and Vince McMahon that I had to play for the station's attorney, and they wouldn't let me play it. And, of course, the WWF didn't want me to play it. So I had to retape an interview with Bruno. So it was watered down that he didn't say these things. But now I found that tape after 30 years. I have that original interview with Bruno, and that is going up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. So there'll be three posts tomorrow night. This classic stuff from '74, including 2 backstage interviews at Madison Square Garden. The Valiant's Captain Lou with Freddie Blassie there, standing there next to me, listening to it. And then I interview Freddie, and you can see how nervous I am when I talk to Blassie. And then that stuff from California, that's all tomorrow night. And then more this week will be coming up. And all I got to do is it's almost like a grab bag. You reach into the box, you pull out a tape, and then you're like, holy smokes, look at this. Look what I have here. I have the turn of Spiros Arion and the interviews. And here's one thing, about the interview I do with Blassie tomorrow night. That's back almost 40, almost 50 years ago. In '75. He was teasing that he was signing a blockbuster, and that was Spiros Arion, because that interview was conducted in November of '75. Arion turns in the first TV taping in January of '75. So, and I have all that audio of when the turn happened. So we're going to start putting it all up there for everybody to enjoy. It's just going to be a nonstop historic content.
I'm getting all excited now. I know when you bring up the Arion turn, boy, that went over big. People just couldn't believe, he was turning. And the first time that I saw him in a main event was in Boston Garden, WFA convention time. It was a cage match, Bruno and Arion. And people that went to the Boston Garden saw they actually would put a net above the ring because people would throw things at the ring.
Right.
And it was, and they put the hockey glass, the plexiglass was all around the ring.
Yeah, it was crazy. Fans used to bang on that plexiglass, and the net was up there. To answer your question, I pronounce your Griega, whatever. All the content prior to 91 is going to be on Patreon. April 9th, 1989 was the first show. You'll have it all. And each episode will be going up to continue the journey in 1991, because you got to remember, in 1991, Weekend of Champions, Flair, Rogers, All of that stuff is coming up. The Zaharian trial coverage, Russo, meeting Russo, bringing him on. All that stuff is here to come in 91, and you'll have it. And the new podcast will be launching. It could be middle of September. It could be October 1st. We're going to do it right, and it's going to be as entertaining as it was. Brian, the chemistry I had with Brian last was amazing. It was amazing, and I'm going to miss it dearly. I already miss it dearly, but things happen, and that's it. All I could say is, like, it wasn't my call. It wasn't my call, and I'm still kind of really saddened over it. And I know the thousands of people that we had listening were saddened also. But now it will continue. You'll get the history. We have 3 more years of shows to go, and you'll get them. But you'll also get incredible content. Don, I'm posting college shows now that I did in 1975 and 6 at Graham Junior College in Boston. I've already put one of them up for people can hear that, and I have several more. I mean, I have 1 hour show where Mel Phillips was with me in the studio. I have the Grand Wizard. I have Freddie Blassie. Mm-hmm. All of it. It's going to go up on the Patreon. Patreon.com/John Arezzi. And now we're also looking at the video tiers that we're going to be implementing. I have all those 8mm films from the Garden, and people want to relive those. So those will be going up. The matches I promoted, the convention footage. There's so much, and as I continue to develop this, I get 10,000 negatives. So why not post a photo set every month of some of the best pictures from the 70s that I shot as a photographer? I mean, I can't wait. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy store right now with all of this content, because now I'm going through boxes. I mean, it's crazy. So, and I'm loving it, because I'm like, this is a great thing. And the thing, Don, when here's another new element that we could bring, because you did the news capsule every week. So why not bring you on and say, remember what we did 30 years ago? Here we go. Let's listen to it. And we could do that on the new podcast. And there'll be Patreon specials. So listeners who are in this certain level, we'll do Zooms with you where, you can all just kind of participate and talk to myself and Don and maybe some guests that were on 30 years ago, and do listen-alongs and watch-alongs. These are all the things that patrons want.
You know what excites me about this, John, is from a historical purpose. When you could have John the Golden Greed Tolis in wonderful audio listening to that.
Yeah, amazing.
I'm sure it does exist elsewhere, but I don't know where. All in one place. You were talking.
They don't exist, Don. That's the thing. They erased all the tapes. No one has them.
You talk about your show at Graham. I mean, just to listen to the Grand Wizard. These are great voices out of the past. And of course, when you have you bring back memories of people watching wrestling on Channel 41 from LA. Jimmy Lennon's voice introducing these people. I mean, John Tolis was the top heel over there, and then you're offering shows 30 years ago that when they had that Zaharian trial, I don't think there was anybody that was out that wasn't an authority figure on that than yourself. I think a lot of people were piggybacking off of because you were so involved with it, covering it, I should say. And
I broke the story on my show. And brought Dave Meltzer on. I mean, I was the first person nationally to talk about it publicly. That's because I had a source, and that source was Billy Graham. And he told me exactly what was going on. Here's the date. This is when the trial's starting. These are the wrestlers that are going to be on trial, that are going to be witnesses against Zaharian. And that's how I got the scoop. It was Billy. And I was with him in Harrisburg. I picked him up from the airport. He was not in good shape at all. But so all of that stuff now is going to go up, and people are going to be able to hear it again.
So much history in one spot that whether you're a current fan or someone who experienced this in the past, or you're interested, to have this all in one. I feel like I'm doing a Time Life infomercial.
It's almost like a Time Life thing. It's like instead of buying the CDs, all you got to do is go to Patreon, because every week you're going to get content that's behind the scenes from the 90s and when we did Pro Wrestling Spotlight, but you're going to get all this stuff from the 70s. You're going to get it all. I mean, it's like there's just so much. There are hundreds of hours of this stuff. So
exciting.
And you have a bunch of people on, commenting. And what would you like to see, as a patron, if you're going to be a patron to this historic community that we're building? And I'm calling it a community, and I'm not calling it patrons or fans. This is a community about history and what we did 30 years ago on the show, and what I've been covering since the early 70s. I mean,
your
you and I
photos
both.
alone. I would, if I was the fans out there, I would be excited to see the photos, because many of them were in the magazine, good quality, but you had all the stars from Ivan Koloff to Bruno, anybody who was at Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum, or elsewhere, your other travels down south, you took a lot of pictures. That's exciting.
I got so much. There's the boxes of negatives. As part of the video content, can you possibly upload your match with Dusty Rhodes? Well, it's already up there. If you go to the YouTube channel you're watching this on, that match with me and Sylvana Sousa against Dusty is on there, so you can see it now for free, basically. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. I guess Medusa chickened out here. What are you gonna do? It's life in wrestling, I guess. Let's see. I remember when the Wizard was commentator for the Sheik's TV. Yeah, there you go. Ernie Roth, right?
A disc jockey before then, so he had experience doing that. But yeah, he was a TV announcer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is great. I mean, any comments and questions, you can also email me, john@mattmemories.com. Follow me on all the Twitter at John Arezzi, Instagram at John Arezzi. I'm everywhere. John Arezzi's Matt Memories on Facebook. But this is really a magical time for me because it's like I keep saying I really want to retire in about 3 years. So, I mean, for the next 3 years, as long as everyone will have me, you're going to get some amazing content, stuff that people have not heard before. And we have lots to go on Pro Wrestling Spotlight. The shows from 91, what a year, 92, crazy, 93, 94, we're gonna unearth it all. I mean, we really are. So patreon.com/John Arezzi. Join. $5 tier, $10 tier. There'll be a few other tiers going up with some amazing stuff. I mean, even in one of the higher tiers, I'm going to give people vintage wrestling magazines as part of their membership. So anyway.
And also, when you talk about the convention, I mean, you had Buddy Rogers there, Bruno Sammartino there, Larry Zbyszko there, Ric Flair, all those people. And to be able to hear their voices and whatnot, it's going to bring back so many memories, or give people a wrestling education, because many of those people, like Buddy Rogers, he wasn't anywhere, and so you had brought him upon your.
But they also all appeared on the show to promote their appearances. So as we now go into with the Patreon show, we're just really talking about the convention right now. So anyone who joins and tomorrow night, you're going to hear that show. Deborah, she burnt dinner or something.
Wink, wink.
But anyway, we'll try to bring her on at another time. But yeah, I mean, it's there. Now we're playing the June stuff. So each week you're getting the shows as they would continue. When I think the last show on the Patreon, the old Patreon site, was from June. But we're putting all the shows that people were expecting anyway. Now they're on the new site, and you have another 2 weeks to go on the old site. And Brian takes it down, but those shows will be on patreon.com/John Arezzi for everybody. Any closing thoughts, Don?
Yeah, when you talk about Medusa, sometime you can talk about when you brought her on the Howard Stern show with Mick Foley.
Guess what? I have the tape.
There you go. Check, please.
Well, it's actually Mick Foley was on there with Fred the Elephant Boy.
Yes.
And that's when they facilitated the appearance of Medusa and Malaya Osaka for Howard Stern. And so I have that entire show. I have it on tape. I don't know what the legalities are, but that will be going up 30 years later, I guess, in 2023. I'll put that up.
Talk about a lineup card, huh?
Yeah.
But again, we talked about Dominic DeNucci.
Oh, there she is. Wait a second. She's joining here. She's had a little issue, but there she is. I see Medusa now. So for all of you out there, we're going to bring her on. Don, do you remember Medusa at all?
Of course I do.
There she is. Hey, Medusa.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Right on. Oh my gosh, guys. I look like I just was in the oven myself and exploded. Oh my gosh. Hi. First of all, Don, John, hello, and hello, everybody.
How you doing?
And I apologize. I'm great. I was cooking dinner, some amazing baked chicken, and I have it in a glass. Guys, be careful of Pyrex, whatever it's called, the glass pan company. Took it out a little bit ago, right before 6, doing whatever, pulled out the glass pan, stuck it on my stove, stood right over it, and it exploded. Glass and everything. Oh my God. I was in shock. I couldn't say anything. My husband was yelling at me like, are you all right? What happened? Oh my God. And I just stood there because I've never seen anything like that in my life. And then Alan told me that he's, heard of stuff like that happening. I'm like, well, I've been doing all the cooking. How come I never have?
Well, you gotta be careful, but so happy to have you here. And Donnie, of
Thank
course.
you.
Donnie, I'm going to pull something up. I'm going to show you Medusa.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be called Medusa, right?
Sure, sounds great.
You have several names, but look at this, Don. Do you know? Can you tell us a little backstory on this picture?
Yeah, I took that picture.
I know you did.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was a great shot. Was that at the convention in '93? Or was that in Texas? Was it in Texas, perhaps?
Dallas.
Dallas, maybe.
Dallas,
Yeah. But anyway.
One thing I want to do, if you don't mind, as I said earlier in the show, today would have been my good friend Eddie Gilbert's birthday, and I know you knew Eddie, and I was wondering if you could give the fans just an idea, a quick story about Eddie Gilbert.
I will tell you about Eddie Gilbert. He was amazing for this business. He was so good at the business. He had a mind, I would say, just like some of the top greats, and some of the ones that I would say that are on top of that level would be with him was like a Dusty Rhodes and him and just so many others. But I loved his mind for the business, and he was really taken away from us too soon. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
He would have been 60
He was smart.
today. Yeah. He was,
60.
Yeah, he would have been 60 today. Yes.
Yeah.
He, God, 60. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I'm almost there. What the hell?
Tell me about it. I'm closing in on 65. It's crazy.
Just when you said that name, I just kind of stopped at that. Oh my God, I'm almost there. Shit.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Where are you at, Donnie?
I'm in Bradenton.
Yeah.
Florida?
Yes, he moved there.
Get out. When did you move here?
In May.
In May. Why did you move to Florida? It's so muggy.
Well, when you live in central New York at 100 inches plus a year of snow and 7 months of cold, it makes a decision for you.
It does. That's why I moved out of Minnesota down to Florida. So, I mean, same.
Yeah. Too bad, such a rich history with this Tampa Sportatorium and the whole territory. And as somebody who's been around wrestling forever, it's sad that that era is all gone. But if we go to John's account, we could relive that history. So
yeah, everything. We're gonna play a little something for Medusa. In a few minutes.
Wait. What? No more hidden questions. No more surprise videos. Wait a minute. Okay, what?
We have a little something to play for you, but we'll get into that. But Don, listen, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining us and paying tribute to Dominic DeNucci. What a great guy. And we'll be bringing you back soon. And, with the new podcast, you'll be a part of that as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
It was
All
so
right,
great
take care,
seeing
Don.
you.
Take care. Donnie Leibel from Bradenton, Florida, not upstate New York, like I used to say each and every week on Pro Wrestling Spotlight. But I'm talking to one of the busiest individuals that I've ever met. And that's you.
What?
One of the busiest people that I've ever met. You're so
I
busy.
I thought you said that you haven't met. I'm like, what
No,
are you? What
I
are you?
have met.
What kind of gummy bears are you eating? Damn it!
That starts in about an hour.
First of all, John, I am so glad that we reconnected. And how we reconnected, I'm not sure. I think I saw something on social media. I saw you on there. I liked it, and then we just started chatting, and then we just reconnected. And we were doing business together. What, 30 years ago?
Yeah, in 93.
Is that? Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's 28 years.
That's again like 60. That's right around the corner.
Yeah, but
Yes.
I was always I always admired you and the business, and you were such a still to this day you're a groundbreaker in almost everything that you do, and everything that you've done in your career. I mean, when I had the opportunity to work with you in 93 and bring you to Southeast Asia and then do some independent stuff with you, I mean, it was like a dream come true for me because of how much I revered you as an individual and someone who really brought legitimacy into the women's world of pro wrestling. I mean, you really legitimized it in so many ways between your training and everything you did in Japan and just your whole life. So, the backstory on all of this, the reconnection too, is that once we reconnected and started talking, we started having these morning coffees together.
Morning coffee with the Resi. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean,
I liked it.
And it's fun. Still, we do it not every day anymore, but, we're both doing crazy busy things, but that reconnection and the opportunity to, after all these years to help each other in some respect and open some doors for each other and to do some cool things together. And it's really, for me, I mean, it's just it's just really a blessing in my life to have you in my life after all these years. And it's a friendship now where it was a working relationship 30 years ago.
So much. And I've, there's this thing that you say, or people say, or that I say now, is that as you get older, you recognize what's important to you, which is unfortunate. When you get older, that's what comes to you, right? You start, your friendship circle may get a little bit smaller. Everything about life changes. And my trust issues have been because of our business, and it was really kind of shady. And so it really has taken me a lot as a person to retrust situations, people. I don't like going into a relationship if it's a business on, entrepreneurship, friendship, whatever, with, having a wall up. I like going into it, 2 feet in and trusting. But I think there's a new way of like that, with kind of your, not a guard up, but you're more open and aware of things and more knowledge and seasoned. So when you and I reconnected, it was comfortable. It was comfortable back then. It was comfortable now. And John, you're an amazing person. You're smart, not just intelligent, but you're good to people. And I think that gets kind of pushed aside. I think sometimes taken advantage by situations and people. If there's anybody out there listening that doesn't know John, just by what you hear in the podcast, he is truly that and more. And I can say that by all these years. And I'm not trying to blow smoke up his ass, because I don't owe him anything. He doesn't owe me anything. And he's just a really helpful guy. So we've labeled him as the connector. Because he always connects great people together. And this, I never knew this going in. He just has a lot of amazing friends that, over the years. And that's why he is who he is. That's why he's successful. And I'm not just trying to put you over here for 10 minutes. It's just what it is. And I want to be able to get this out because this is truly how I feel. And it just isn't said enough. There are people that abuse people for situations or just talk the bullshit for whatever reasons. And I feel that until you know somebody or you know the facts, just keep your mouth shut. And so that being said, I am very thankful. Thank you.
Well, it's I'm very thankful.
Look at you. Are you red in the cheeks? What is all that?
I'm blushing a little. No, I just, and the thing is, we've both gone through so much in the business, and I wrote about it in my book, and the thing is, I don't want heat with anyone, even my current situation with the podcast that was abruptly taken away from me. I don't want heat with anyone, and I'm not going to go. I'm not going to participate in it.
But that happened. It happened. It's done with, and you're moving forward.
Whatever. Everybody moves on. I'm excited. I'm excited about the future. And speaking about being excited, what's going on in your life right now? I mean, you have a new relationship.
Plethora of things. Yes.
I know, but I mean, one of the things that just broke this week was your involvement with the oldest wrestling organization. So
the NWA, New Women's Association. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not what that means. Yeah. So Billy Corgan, I'm sure y'all are familiar with that or not. Maybe not. I don't know. But Billy Corgan has been one of my favorites in the music industry to begin with. And then he I've had the love of wrestling for a long time. So fast forward, he now owns NWA, and he's put together such a great platform of NWA, which is totally different from other organizations, which makes it stand out and just significantly just one of the best. It is enriched with great history. I'm very proud and lucky and honored to be a part of the NWA again on just the platform that I am going to be involved. Mickey got a hold of me, Mickey James, and her involvement there. I mean, of course, her husband is there, Nick Aldis. It's a no-brainer that they're there together. And when she reached out to me and asked me to be a part, I was like, absolutely, Mickey. I want to see this as a success, especially the Empower for Women and everything that goes with that and beyond. So to be involved with the NWA this week, is it this coming weekend? Yes. No, next weekend. I'm sorry. Not this coming weekend, but whatever.
28th, right?
The 28th. Yes.
Yeah, that's my nephew's birthday, so I remember that.
So the 28th, we are going to be rocking and rolling, making stuff happen and changing. Yeah, in St. Louis, changing, hopefully changing somewhat the trajectory of women's wrestling again. They will be performing there at the Chase Center, and I'm very, very excited. Never say never. I never did get a retirement match yet. Not saying that it's going to happen there, but I feel that I'm.
That was a question I had for you, actually. Do you see yourself wanting to go and have another match before you call it a day officially? I mean, you look like you can do it.
Well, thank you. I would love to have a retirement match, but I definitely would like it to be on my terms, of course, working with somebody. If it's NWA, if it's AEW, if it's WWE, if it's MLT, if it's Impact, if it's who's got the kahunas to have with the brains to want to work with me to give me my retirement match, right? So
you're open to it.
Yeah, kind of feeling it all out.
Good. I like that.
Yeah, I'm not going to, tomorrow's never guaranteed.
Nope.
And so just know that my will and love is, yes, I would like to. So God forbid if I'm not here tomorrow, just know at least, I mean, I would be going happy because I'm okay where I'm at. But yet that would be great to have one.
Yeah.
And what else is going on in my life? I'm going to finish that bit for you. Hold on.
Please.
And so I have an amazing husband. He just retired after 31 years of the military. And so we've been living the best life possible. But of course he got, when you're not under the same roof all this time, and then during a pandemic, you haven't been under the same roof for more than 8 weeks together. You're like, oh shit. Oh my God, now what? But I'll tell you what, our marriage has been the best it ever has been in the 10, 11 years we've been together. And so we've been working very diligently together. We've been traveling a lot more. We've been doing things together, concerts. I've been doing a lot of signings. And with that, I've got a few projects that, I mean, I'd like to talk about, but I don't want to because I hate talking about it before it even comes to final fruition. But I will tell you, it's already in the works and it's already happening. But until we get to that launching period, yeah. So,
well, you got a big honor in Vegas coming up too in September, don't you?
Oh yes, the CAC. Well, remind me that. Oh yeah, that's right.
That's pretty big, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Kind of cool.
Yes, it is. Oh look, you need one of these, John.
Oh yeah, I do.
What is that? That's a Medusa Slam Buddy. That when you get mad at somebody,
you could use that.
Crap out of them. So yeah, I use that. I'll talk about CAC in a minute. So I use this when I'm pissed off when I'm on my Twitch channel. So during the pandemic, I always felt that not just during the pandemic, but always testing myself to the limit, always trying to reinvent myself. You know, even though I trademarked the name over 40 years ago, whatever. During this pandemic, I thought, what the hell are you going to do? What can you do? You know, there's just everything was just so different and iffy. And you just, you know, of course, people were just trying to shove fear down every which way. So I thought, you know, I've got to think out of the box. So I am going to face fear and do something. So what did I do? I dove into electronics, which I'm scared crapless of. And I built my own tower. I've got screens and all my gaming stuff. So I bought all of this gaming stuff, put it all together, and I ended up gaming on Twitch now every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And it's the best fun I've had. Now it'll be my year anniversary coming up.
Wow.
It is. It's a lot of fun. At my age, I game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, I love horror flicks. I love gory stuff. I love Halloween. I love whatever. But so I love a lot.
You got to see a movie called Faking a Murderer. That just came out. It's streaming. Stu Stone is the director. Stu
Stone is?
Yes. He had
Faking a Murder. Hold on.
The movie premiere was in Los Angeles last weekend.
Why didn't he call me? I want to be in a horror film before I die, by the way.
Well,
what is it called? What is it called?
Faking a Murderer.
Okay.
And it's a docu horror film. I've never seen anything like it before. And
yes.
And it's like he's working everybody. He's working everybody in the documentary because they're all people that are his family, reporters, private investigators, that he's looking for this person that was on Facebook and as a murderer, but it's a work. But then it turns into a horror film. It's the craziest thing.
No, that's the most. That's so brilliant. It's freaking brilliant. Yes, I remember now. I couldn't remember the name of it, but I saw that on Twitter, and I think I said something to him. I'm like, what? Why wasn't I in this?
Well, I mean,
so
Stu's a good person. I invited him on tonight, and unfortunately, he couldn't make it.
Why?
Well, he has some things going on, but he's going to come on. And, you know, here's my story with Stu is like I was interviewed for Dark Side of the Ring in January.
Yes.
In Naples, actually, for the steroid episode. And there was a dude interviewing me, and it was Stu Stone, who I knew I recognized him because I loved his documentary. It was called Jack of All Trades, but about baseball cards in Toronto. And, you know, how his father was one of the biggest baseball card dealers up in Toronto. And he did a documentary and his father had left and deserted the family. And then he finds his father in this documentary. It really was.
Oh, wow.
It really was heartwarming, heartbreaking in a lot of ways. But it was such an incredible documentary. And here's this dude talking to me. I was like, I know that guy from somewhere. And when I left the set, I was like, that's freaking Stu Stone. And I connected with him afterwards. And he did a great interview with me for Dark Side, and now we're talking about doing, you know, some really cool things together, and and this movie, I just can't recommend it enough. You could find it anywhere on any streaming platform. It's on Amazon Prime. It's on Apple. So find it, Faking a Murderer. You'll love it. You really will.
I am. I've been wanting to. Yes, I will. Definitely. I would love to do something with Stu. Absolutely. This is Black Scorpion. I'm taking over your show. Who's that?
Back 30 years ago on Pro Wrestling Spotlight, I used to get these calls when WCW was doing the Black Scorpion gimmick, and someone would call my show every week. John, it's the Black Scorpion. I'm taking over your show. So there you go.
Hey, this is kind of cool. So are you live where?
Right now?
Yeah.
This is on the YouTube channel live. Yes.
Live right now?
Yeah, it's John Arezzi's Matt Memories on YouTube.
I didn't know it was like live. I was wondering how all these questions were coming up.
We have a lot of questions coming in, actually. Some really
dare to let me see some.
Would you like to answer a few questions?
Yeah.
Here's a sad one. I mean, any road stories and memories of Bobby?
Oh.
That's from Richard Newsom over in England. Over in the UK.
So I have some amazing stories of Bobby. Bobby was always so nice, and he always was chewing bubble gum, and always chewed it at the tip of his teeth, and he'd always be smiling. And there'd be any confrontation going on anywhere, and Bobby would be standing there going, ho, ho, ho. And he'd, just to try to break up the monotony, he'd come up to you and very lightly kind of like put your arm in an arm bar or something and kind of giggle, and he would just walk off. That's Bobby. He didn't say much, and he avoided all confrontation. And Bobby was one of the best workers. He sold like a mofo. And when I got the call that morning, I was so devastated. But I know that he passed happy because he was sitting in a chair watching wrestling.
Yeah.
I've always thought Medusa was her peak of her generation too early. WCW and WWE were not ready for her back then. Imagine a prime Medusa being in the WWE today. So much talent. Oh, I feel the same way.
Who would out of all the women athletes in the business today, are there any that really stand out for you and say, this athlete, this wrestler, this woman wrestler is really top of her game? Which are the ones that kind of you zone in on and say, this is the real deal?
Well,
that you respect as an athlete.
I mean, someone that I would want to have my final match with, or just women in general?
Just in the business, in the AEW, WWE, NWA.
That's a loaded. It is a loaded.
Are there any that stand out, or one name that you say that person? There's so many of them, but one person is like. Or would you rather not go there?
I mean, not yet. Yeah. But
what about in the past?
There's a handful.
What about in the past? What about in the past? Let's say, obviously, Bull Nakano was got to be your number one, I would think.
Yes. So Bull Nakano was like working. She was the lightest worker I worked with, even in the States, believe it or not. But she beat the crap out of me because I sold and it made it look like that. And she was so. Our matches were so ahead of our time, right? And we just excelled. We had a lot of guys that would come out of the back of the room and say, Deuce, guys really don't want to follow that, whatever. We took it as a compliment. There were a lot of good wrestlers back then because I think they focused on the wrestling. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that they don't today. They just have more things to focus on today, like social media, the whole glamour makeup. We just didn't focus on that a lot until later on in the years, like when I'm going to say, not that we didn't care. We all did our hair and tried to do, but it wasn't so much emphasis on that. We were focusing more about the ring and us in the ring and the psychology and the storyline. And not that, again, that they're not today, but there's more to think about today that I see where a lot of things are falling between the cracks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, years ago when you worked for me in that brief period of time we went overseas, I mean, we had brought Wendy Richter over. And so, I mean, she was somebody that kind of took the business seriously too.
She did. Yes. That generation was so serious.
Yeah.
And I mean, Wendy was, I mean, she knew the business. She knew how to wrestle. She knew timing. And she was
no
nonsense
either. She was no
nonsense and charismatic.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So a guy like me who's like, you know, we're on a tour for 2 weeks in the same place, right?
Where are you going?
We have to mix up the booking a little bit.
What?
So
where are you going?
I have a clip of a match in Manila in the Philippines. I mean, we had a bunch of great performers there.
Yeah.
So I pulled a match that no one's ever seen before.
Probably not even me.
No, of course not. You haven't seen it. And it's actually a mixed tag team match with you and Espectrito, one of the most historic Mexican minis in history, against Wendy and Mascarita Sagrada, who was
oh my God.
So I'm going to play a little, if you're okay with it. If you don't want me to play it, I won't play it.
I don't know. I'll tell you when to stop.
You'll tell me when to stop. And you can see me at almost 400 pounds as the ring announcer, so that'll give people entertainment. And I'm wearing purple, like I'm wearing now.
Like you know, yeah.
So we'll share it, and when you tell me to cut it off, we'll cut it off. How's that sound?
All right, sounds
all right.
Good.
This is a little, you know. I think we're gonna have fun with it. All right.
Oh God.
Come on now. Come on. Let's just go for it. All right.
Okay. Shoot. Oh boy. Oh boy. Okay, there was something about love the music. I'm like, come on.
1993. There you go.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I don't know what to make of this. I don't remember.
Hey, listen, the work was great. I mean, these guys were the acrobatics, and of course, you and Wendy were always serious.
Wendy was so good. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Little devilish. Oh my gosh. Holy crap. Mascarita Sagrada. I know, right?
What an amazing performer he was. And Espectrito is not even with us any longer.
So both of those two are gone?
I don't know about Mascarita. I know Espectrito is no longer with us.
So we weren't, not like this was our first rodeo working together either.
No.
You know, we were in AWA and stuff doing our little angles and bouts.
And we had to mix it up because we were in this venue. If you remember, I think we were in this venue for like 7 days straight.
Were we really?
Yeah, sometimes with 2 shows a day.
Oh my God, you're kidding me. Did you pay me well?
Yeah.
What
a crew we had. I mean, Jake, Diamond Dallas Page, Paulie was there.
Was he there for the full? Was he there for the full?
Not Paulie. He was there for a week.
Okay.
And then he went home.
You see those kick pads right there?
Yeah.
I still have them.
Do you really?
Yes. Oh my God, I do. Yep. In fact, I just saw them the other day when I was getting ready for I was such a collegiate. I was so serious about I loved it, you know?
That's why, you know, that suspension of disbelief. I mean, you took your business serious all the time.
I know. I guess I could have learned to have a good time on the outside, but we did. We had a good time on the outside.
Yeah. And see the fans there, you know, the fans really took it very serious.
Yeah, they're very quiet.
Very respectful. It was almost, is it like a,
was it like Japan?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Was it like a Japanese
sorta
crowd?
Yeah. I mean, this is how kind of they reacted. Boy, she was loud.
Well, we had microphones in there.
Oh, look at the basic style of wrestling, though. We milked it, just holding a hold. You don't see this too often, except I did see a little bit of this holding stuff when not a rest hold. She's working that headlock. Yes. Oh, she broke my tailbone. Just kidding. Now we should be rolling, I think. Oh, there we go. Rope. God, I was so young. Give me that face back.
There you go.
Yeah, Wendy.
Referee Terry, I think his name was not Terry Terranova, but he was Henry Terranova. His dad was a referee at Madison Square Garden, as was Henry. We had a great crew. Conan was on that tour.
I'll be with Conan this coming weekend or next weekend.
Oh, really?
I'll be with Conan. Yeah. I'll tell him you said hello.
Yeah, I love that guy.
Unless you owe him money or something, then I.
No, I don't owe money. No, he actually still has my belts.
He does? Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna ask him for it. John wants to know if you brought the belts.
I want those. Well, he said he was going to send them to me. I would love to get those back because those were, you know, I had a federation for a little period of time, and he, you know, because I gave them to Antonio Pena because they were running angles in Mexico with them.
Listen, does Medusa remember that Manila was like a place?
What was Manila like? I know there's a lot of poverty there.
Oh gosh, yeah. I felt guilty. I felt guilty being there and wrestling and taking their money. Of course, I didn't take it. You did.
Well, the promoters did. I sold the tour. Oh,
okay.
But if you remember, Imelda Marcos was at one of the shows.
What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yes, she took her grandchildren.
Did we get a picture with her?
I think Johnny Rotten did. Mike Dorham.
You're kidding.
Or Rocco Rock, but Teddy Petty and Johnny Grunge. That's where Paul put them together. Was on this tour.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And that's where he got, you know, Kevin and Woman and Nancy to work at ECW.
Oh wow. Don't trust her. What are you talking about?
Watch her with two eyes. One in the front, one in the back.
What am I gonna do? I'm like, come on, man. That's so good.
You kissed on the cheek.
Did I really? Oh my God, that's too cute. Did I just tap him on the ass?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's too cute. Now we get to see these two work.
Oh, they're amazing.
I always wish I could work like, you know, they just had a style of their own. Did he just like pick? Oh my God, that was like nothing. Like just body pressed him like nothing. Is he really gonna? No, he's not gonna throw him over. Yeah, to me. Oh God. Wow, this is back when matches were actually longer than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you got to realize that we had, I think each one of the shows was about 2.5, 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah.
3 hours. Damn it. Oh my God! Listen to him.
But I have about 50 of these matches.
Do you really?
That no
Oh
one's
my!
ever seen before.
This is gold.
I know.
Oh
Especially
my
with
God, John.
especially with the Power Twins, Jake the Snake, Diamond Dallas Page, Bob Orton, Valentine,
Yes.
Conan, the Minis, Paulie, Warlord, Barbarian. We had a crew, Ted Petty. I mean, we had so many. You and Wendy, and we had a crew of about 35, 40 people. Kevin Sullivan,
Wow.
Pat
Yeah.
Tanaka.
God, Pat was good, wasn't he?
Yes. And we switched the
You're
title. We had, Jake had the title, Orton had the title, Tanaka won the title because we did the gimmick of he was one of the natives, and then he wins the title from Orton. It was like we have such incredible footage here.
What the hell just happened? Oh boy. Oh, he's conniving.
Well, the match told a story too. It wasn't all high spots. It was telling a story, and there was, you had the fans getting into it, getting a little louder.
I'm telling you, it wasn't boring.
No. I mean, how many times today do you hear the wrestlers talking in the ring like this? I mean, you don't hear that anymore, right?
No. Mm-mm. Oh boy. What was Paul? Who was Paul managing then?
He managed Orton. He managed.
Oh, he did.
Powers of Pain because they were the tag team champions. Matter of fact, when I first met you, we were cutting promos down on the beach in Tampa. You, Wendy, Kevin Sullivan, Woman, Paulie, Warlord, Barbarian. And then we had all these incredible backstage interviews with this local from the Philippines.
Do you have any of those interviews?
I have all of them.
Oh, God.
It's amazing stuff. And you're so funny. I mean, you're really, really good. It's really good stuff.
How do you remember all this? Good Lord.
I mean,
you got to bring up some of the interviews. Like, you got to do like short thing. I want to, next time. Oh my God.
Yeah, I'll let this go. I mean, I wanted to give you a little taste of it. We'll stop it there, and someday people will be able to see it again. We'll figure it out. But I wanted to give you a little surprise there. But you have
I love it.
I think this was just great to spend a little time with you, and we talked about it for a while about you coming and joining me on this. And I don't do these every week like I did back in the spring, but occasionally I do these shows, and just letting people know that I'm still around. We're going to do another podcast coming up. The Patreon is up and running, where there's incredible stuff that we're putting up there, and you have all kinds of things going on too, because I think you're also getting into the NFT space, if I'm not mistaken.
I am. We are finished. We are finished with my first NFT. There's 2 of them, 2 different NFTs with all the logistics will come out here in a bit. But the 2 NFTs are done. Everything is put together. We're just getting ready to launch it. So that's very exciting.
So your socials, let people know where they can find out about this, and please let everybody know where they can keep in touch with you on the social media scene.
Of course, on all the social media, it's MADUSA. You just type in Medusa.com. You go to Medusa on all my social media. I am there. I'm very active on all my social media, so you'll get a firsthand of what's going on. Check me out on my Twitch channel on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. There's a lot going on there, a lot of great information. Sometimes I drop some good stuff there when I'm launching. Let's see. I've got some great products coming out, and Yeah. And
You're busy.
let's see. Yeah, busy. There's a lot of good things, and I don't know if I should say anything yet. Now, I have mentioned that I am writing my book biography, right? Finally, after 30, 40 years, whatever, that's been an ongoing thing for all of those years. Finally, I landed my deal with the publishing company, ECW. So I'm very excited. I would say that it should be out around spring of 2023. It was going to be the fall of 2022, but we pushed it up just a bit because it's like a Missioner book. It's thick.
You've had an amazing journey, my friend, in your life. And
it's a motivational book. It's inspiring. It's a story about me, and it's about my life. It's not about anybody else. If a lot of the scenes or stories in there, I don't mention names. I just keep it clean because, I've already got death threats basically saying, if you mention my name in your book, you're going to get sued. I'm like, wow, it's not about you. Anyway, so yeah.
You have a compelling story, a compelling life. You're still active. You're still doing great things. You've had, excuse me, but people are going to be able to connect with you and just keep following Medusa on all the social media platforms. And I really thank you for coming on here today.
No, thank you, John.
Even with the kitchen accident you had right before,
I am not kidding. Guys, Pyrex, whatever that shit's called, that glass pan, it exploded. It popped. It was crazy. I've never seen anything like it. Yeah. And I turned to my husband. I was in shock, and I said, "I'm going to have to start wearing safety goggles when I cook." All right, morning coffee with you again, John.
You got it. I look forward to it.
All right, sir. Thank you for having me.
Have a great weekend.
All right, sir. Bye.
Bye. Medusa, happy, better late than never. And we had a great segment with her. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us a long time. It's been an hour and a half here. So I appreciate everyone joining us. We'll do this again real soon. I'll keep you updated on what the progress is about the new podcast and where it's going to go and where it's going to land and what it's going to be called. And right now, if you want to join Patreon, patreon.com/John Arezzi, $5 gets you in the door. And that gets you all the Pro Wrestling Spotlight archives. So I appreciate it. And thank you, John. It was enjoyable for me as well to have everybody here. And I'll speak to you real soon. So, all right. Till next time when we talk more wrestling, this is John Arezzi. Have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.